lockdown orders are impacting robocall volume.
So Ken, can you tell us about the robocalls today?
I came across an interesting article recently stating that since really this whole worldwide pandemic of coronavirus started happening and we all are experiencing these lockdowns, that the volume of robocalls is actually way down. And I didn't quite realize this at first, but once I had heard this, started to think back and said, yeah, I haven't gotten quite as many robocalls lately, or attempted spam type calls. And as I was reading into why this might be happening, I think the vendor who offers a robocall blocking service, their name is Umail, they were saying that these robocalling scams or spam services, they actually run out of data centers. So just like we might have a data center or a call center, that's what's happening here. So when a lockdown goes into place in a specific area, if a call center closes down, those people aren't making those robocalls, and then the volume just took a huge plummet. They actually said one country in particular, they were able to see that basically the day the lockdown went into effect in that country, the robocall volume started dropping. So they had said that in the month of April 2020, they had detected 2.9 billion robocalls, which sounds like a lot, but they were saying year over year, so if we go back to April 2019, that count was actually 4.8 billion. So, maybe almost 40% that number decreased in the month versus the year prior. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, that people aren't getting robocalls. People still are, so they need to be alert that just because the credit card offer the extended car warranty, it's not exactly what you think it is. And they still said that there's still a fair number of complaints going to the Federal Trade Commission each month. I think they said in March it dropped, I want to say 50% though. So you can imagine then people are either now more vigilant because they've been getting maybe another type of robocall or spam, but or the volume's going down. So it's very possible that once we eventually come out of a lockdown in each country around the world, we'll start to see that uptick again as these call centers open back up and people are able to go back and do that job of being the robocaller or running the system.
That is a real interesting story, Ken. Just to follow up, what would be the best protections about in general with these kind of robocalls?
I believe many or all of at least the mobile carriers will offer a service, if it's not built into the plan, that allows you to either detect or even outright block what the network determines to be a robocall. I believe these services exist too for if you have a VoIP service or a plain old telephone service, if you still have a copper line. So there are services that are offered, and at the same time, companies can subscribe to services like that too. And then if one of these calls does get through, just being vigilant as an individual to be able to recognize, is this maybe a spoof number that might be calling me? Does it look a lot like my phone number? Is it what can I do to try to determine from my perspective, is this worth picking up?
Also, maybe don't try to give personal identifiable information, maybe anything related to some sort of information gathering,
right?
Not to give. Okay.
Right. So if you, even like to your point, even if you decide to pick up the phone, being cautious about what you're giving information out to. Just because someone references a case number, if you don't remember opening a case with, this company or this service, it may not be legitimate. So just to be aware is one of the big things in this case.
So I do notice the amount of spam calls or spit calls that that are sent out to our phones and home VoIP networks and so forth. So I did notice that I was getting less, but I think that it's on an uptick now or incline of callers now, because they've already started back over the weekend. Last week I started getting calls again. So yeah, now that things are opening up, it's gonna get worse real fast. I would say, to we have to get back to the blocking or different software that would block these callers and the numbers that they're calling from, because I don't think, like at the government, do you think at the do not call level, is it really working for us that we're continually having to block these calls manually or having them to block them now? Do you think that there should be a better way of doing this?
I think, some of it you can say should be done on the network level, that the network should be smart enough to say something here doesn't line up, and I've seen that this number or this IP, maybe if it's a VoIP call, is originating or has some type of upticked volume to be able to make that determination. And as far as something like the do not call, in a lot of these cases, the people who are making these calls aren't located in the United States.
Right.
So unless they're fearful of breaking a U.S. law in another country, they might still continue to do it. But I believe I have seen recently there have been cases where arrests and attempted or successful extradition have happened for people running these types of operations.
And I've noticed these call centers, even located in the United States, in the West Coast or up in, I think it was in Portland area, something like so, that these call centers, they were, domestic in the United States, not so much international as well, that they were, disbanded.
They're everywhere, unfortunately, and then where there's a way to apparently make a buck, then there's an opportunity for something to go awry there.
Exactly.